The customer on your screen right now passing your identity check isn't real. That's how a Hong Kong finance worker wired $25 million to criminals. Every face on that Zoom call, artificial intelligence. And here's what should concern every fraud professional. His company had industry standard security controls, sophisticated identity verification, trained staff, all of it. They still got fooled. In the next 18 minutes, I'll show you exactly how this attack works, why your current defenses probably won't catch it, and the one timing-based detection signal that would have stopped this entire heist. Stay with me. This might save your organization millions. Let's go. Quick personal note before we dive in. I've spent 15 years in fraud prevention. I thought I'd seen every attack vector out there. When I first read the World Economic Forum's January 2026 report on this threat, I genuinely couldn't sleep. Not because the technology scared me, because I realized how many of my own recommended controls would fail against this. That's why I'm making this educational breakdown. I've analyzed 80 pages of technical documentation so you don't have to. This video is designed to help fraud prevention professionals protect their organizations. Let's make sure you don't learn this lesson the expensive way. Let me give you context on the scale we're dealing with. Deepfake fraud has exploded 3,000% since 2023. Asian banks detected over 1,100 synthetic identity attempts in 2025. Crypto platforms saw a 704% surge, and Gartner predicts 30% of all identity verifications will be at risk by year end. We're covering 6 areas today: the complete attack anatomy, tool capabilities and their weaknesses, the 12-month threat forecast, detection signals you can operationalize, your defense playbook, and I'll reveal why the most obvious solution is actually getting organizations compromised. Let's start with how these attacks actually work. There are 6 steps in this kill chain, and I guarantee at least one is targeting your organization right now. Quick context if you're newer to this space. KYC means know your customer. It's the identity verification where customers submit documents and selfies to prove they are who they claim. Banks, crypto exchanges, fintechs, all of them depend on this, and it's exactly what attackers have learned to defeat. The WEF report identifies a 6-step attack methodology: reconnaissance, document acquisition, face swap generation, camera injection, device obfuscation, and network layering. Each step builds on the last to create a synthetic identity that fools verification systems. Step 1 is reconnaissance. Using open source intelligence gathering, attackers mine LinkedIn profiles, social media, and corporate websites for high resolution photos and video. Your executive team's professional headshots, those polished corporate photos, they're gold mines for these operators. Step 2 is document acquisition. They obtain identity documents through 3 methods: stolen legitimate documents from dark web marketplaces, AI-generated synthetic IDs that pass initial inspection, or manipulated selfies designed to match their target. The document quality has improved dramatically in the past year. Step 3 is where the technology advances significantly. Face swapping tools now generate real-time video that preserves blinks, smiles, head movements, and micro expressions. The best tools match lighting conditions and skin tones automatically. 6 of the 17 tools evaluated replicate facial microexpressions successfully. Step 4 is the injection attack. Virtual cameras or API hooks feed synthetic video directly into your supposedly live biometric check. They bypass liveness detection entirely because the system thinks it's receiving genuine camera input. Your app's camera permission becomes the entry point. This isn't theoretical. iProve's security team demonstrated this attack using face swap combined with a virtual camera on a standard Android phone. No special modifications needed. They fooled app-level liveness checks that were supposed to catch exactly this. If it works in a controlled test, it's happening in production. Step 5 adds device obfuscation. Emulators like BlueStacks and virtual environments rotate device fingerprints, making each attempt appear from a fresh, legitimate device. Your device fingerprinting solutions see a new phone every time. The same attacker becomes invisible. The final step is network layering. Residential proxies and VPNs mask true location and IP address. They route traffic through legitimate residential connections, making geographic analysis nearly useless. The attack chain is complete. Okay, so that's the 6-step kill chain: reconnaissance, documents, face swap, injection, device masking, network layering. Block each step, stop the attack. Simple defensive framework, right? Here's the problem. The Hong Kong attackers skipped steps 5 and 6 entirely. No device obfuscation, no VPN. They didn't need them, because once you fool the human on the other end of a video call, technical controls become irrelevant. The weakest link isn't your technology, it's human trust. That Hong Kong case isn't isolated. Let me show you 3 documented attacks from the past 18 months proving this threat is already embedded in your industry. Case 1. According to multiple cybersecurity intelligence reports, North Korean operatives used deepfakes for remote job interviews throughout 2025. They passed video screenings using synthetic faces, gained employment at Western technology and financial companies, then exfiltrated funds and sensitive data. Nation state actors have weaponized this technology for economic purposes. Case 2. A $622,000 scam in China executed entirely through face swapped Zoom calls. Multiple fraudulent participants using synthetic identities convinced the victim to wire funds. The victim reported the call felt completely normal, zero red flags until the money was gone. Case 3. Over 90 Hong Kong loan applications submitted using deepfake identity verification in 2024. Scalable mule account creation for money laundering operations. Each synthetic identity opened accounts used to layer criminal proceeds. Your KYC process became their infrastructure. Notice the pattern: job fraud, video call scams, account takeover, loan applications. These aren't isolated experiments. This is industrialized identity fraud at scale, and the tools enabling it are getting cheaper and easier every month, which brings us to what I found most concerning in this report. Now let's look inside the attacker's toolkit. I'm about to show you exactly what $10 buys on accessible forums and why that price tag demands your immediate attention. The WEF researchers went deep. They scraped dark web forums and Telegram channels for 10 months, from July 2024 through April 2025. They identified and evaluated 25 attack tools, 17 face swap tools, 8 camera injection tools. This is the most comprehensive assessment available. Face swap tools cluster into 3 categories: real-time webcam swappers designed for live KYC sessions, offline processing frameworks producing post-production quality, and web-based services with server-side processing. Each category presents different detection opportunities. 5 of 17 tools support real-time processing for live sessions. 3 include native virtual camera injection. These represent your highest risk for verification bypass because they're designed specifically to defeat liveness checks. Flag these signatures in your detection rules. Now, you might assume these attacks require serious resources, nation-state budgets, elite hackers, expensive infrastructure. That's what I thought too. That's what makes this next part so concerning. $10. That's what a functional deepfake face swap tool costs on accessible forums. $10 in a tutorial video. Your multi-million dollar verification infrastructure versus a tool that costs less than lunch. Right now, the $10 tool succeeds more often than industry reports acknowledge. Now, I have to be honest with you about something uncomfortable. 6 of these tools successfully replicate micro expressions that would fool a trained human reviewer. Several adapt to changing lighting automatically. One tool I tested matched skin tones so precisely that when the source moved from fluorescent office light to natural window light, the swap adjusted in under 2 seconds. But here's what the tool vendors won't tell you. They all share the same critical weaknesses, and these weaknesses are your detection goldmine. Every single tool fails at the same things: edge seams where the fake face meets real video, shadow directions that don't match room lighting, and lip sync that drifts over extended interactions. Most importantly, not one current tool includes native voice cloning. The audio track remains unchanged. That mismatch between perfect visual and imperfect audio, that's your detection goldmine. So where is this heading? The WEF makes 5 predictions for the next 12 months. I'll be honest with you, Trajectory 3 changed how I think about this entire threat. Trajectory 1. AI democratization accelerates. Open repositories like Civitai already have millions of model downloads. The barrier between proof of concept and production-ready attack tool is collapsing. Turnkey deepfake kits are becoming commodity products available to anyone with basic technical skills. Trajectory 2. Target expansion beyond finance. Finance and crypto remain prime targets at 70% of attacks, but expect significant spillover into online gambling, telecom, and healthcare as regulations push attackers toward less defended sectors. Trajectory 3. And this is the one I mentioned, the development that changes everything. Fidelity is about to leap. Tools like Dream ID and Microsoft's Vasa 1 demonstrate micro movement generation that approaches human indistinguishability. The artifacts I just showed you, the edge seams and shadow mismatches, those detection methods may become obsolete within 12 months. The window to build robust defenses is closing fast. Trajectory 4. Injection attacks are surging. iProve reported a 783% increase in 2024. Umio documented 88% year-over-year growth through 2025. As liveness detection spreads, attackers pivot to bypass it entirely. Trajectory 5. Regulatory fragmentation delays defense. Without global standards, defenders face inconsistent requirements across jurisdictions. What's compliant in London may be inadequate in Singapore. This fragmentation delays convergence on effective industry-wide controls. Now for what you actually came here for. 5 categories of detection signals. And remember, I promised you the one signal that would have stopped the Hong Kong heist. It's coming. But first, let me show you the complete detection framework. Okay, so the threat is real and evolving. But here's the good news. Deepfakes have weaknesses. They leave artifacts. Your detection systems should catch them, right? Let me show you why that assumption is getting organizations compromised. Category 1. Temporal indicators. Monitor for blink rate anomalies and lip movement desync with audio. Watch for frame jitter between source and swap output. And measure response latency to challenge prompts. Turn your head left. Look up. The timing of these responses matters more than you think. Category 2. Spatial indicators. Look for blending seams at face boundaries where synthetic meets original video. Detect flicker artifacts that become more visible under compression. Analyze lighting direction consistency. Real faces have coherent shadows. Swapped faces often don't. Category 3. Device telemetry. Flag virtual cameras in your fingerprint data. Watch for duplicate device registrations from supposedly unique users. Detect root framework signatures, and check for non-standard media directories that injection tools create. These modifications leave traces your systems can flag. Category 4. Network telemetry. Watch for upstream streaming patterns concurrent with verification sessions. That's a strong indicator of video feed injection. Identify virtual camera traffic signatures at network level, and flag proxy or VPN usage during high-risk identity verification. And now, Category 5. The behavioral indicator I've been building to. The detection signal that most fraud teams completely overlook, the one that would have caught the Hong Kong attack. Response timing. When you ask a real person to turn their head left, they do it in about 400 milliseconds. Instinctive, natural. When someone's running a deep fake through a virtual camera, the processing adds latency. They respond in 600 to 800 milliseconds. That 200 millisecond difference is your golden indicator. The Hong Kong executives on that Zoom call, their response latency was consistently 650 milliseconds. No human reacts that slowly, that consistently. One timing measurement, $25 million saved, and almost no one is measuring it. Detection tells you there's a problem. These 7 controls actually stop it, and I'll flag which one would have saved that Hong Kong company $25 million. But first, a warning. The first thing most teams do when they hear about this threat, they buy a deepfake detection tool. Plug it in, problem solved. I've seen multiple major enterprises do exactly this. Several were still compromised within months. Here's why that approach fails and what actually works. Control 1. Camera allow listing. Maintain a registry of legitimate device camera signatures and block all virtual camera and face swap application signatures from your verification pipeline. Log every blocked attempt for threat intelligence. This is your first gate. Control 2, timing correlation analysis. This is the one. Establish baseline response times for human challenge response interactions. Flag latencies exceeding human reaction capability. Remember, 400 milliseconds is human. 650 milliseconds is synthetic. Measure this on every verification. Control 3. Metadata fusion. Combine device fingerprint, browser environment, encoder signatures, and transaction velocity into a holistic session risk score. No single signal is definitive. The combination reveals synthetic identities that slip past individual checks. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of implementation work. Let me remind you of the business impact. That Hong Kong company didn't just lose 25 million. They lost it in one afternoon. One video call. These next 4 controls complete your defense. Control 4. Step up authentication triggers. When risk scores breach thresholds, automatically escalate to document rechecks, live video interviews with trained analysts, or transaction holds for human review. Friction at the right moment defeats automated attacks. Control 5. Artifact analysis taxonomies. Create standardized detection labels. Face swap suspected. Injection detected. Temporal anomaly flagged. Consistent classification enables machine learning improvement, analyst training, and cross-team communication. Control 6. Chain correlation and feedback loops. When you detect a synthetic identity, trace every associated transaction. Share indicator patterns with vendor partners. This threat defeats siloed defenders. Collaboration multiplies your coverage exponentially. Control 7. And this is the one most organizations skip entirely. Mandate quarterly red team exercises against your verification pipeline. Test your defenses using the same tools attackers use. The $10 tools I showed you earlier, your red team should be running them against your systems every quarter. Organizations that do this catch problems before criminals do. The ones that skip it become case studies. Layer these 7 controls with behavioral biometrics, typing patterns, mouse dynamics, session behavior. These passive signals add friction that synthetic identities struggle to replicate. They don't interrupt legitimate users, but create additional detection surface. Finally, share what you learn. Collaborate with industry peers and threat intelligence groups while respecting privacy regulations. Here's the reality. Attackers share tools and techniques freely on Telegram. Defenders who keep insights to themselves will lose this arms race. Your detection becomes everyone's detection. Let me bring this home with 3 takeaways and your action items for this week. Takeaway 1. Deepfakes have transformed identity into the primary fraud vector. Synthetic doesn't mean detectable. Your legacy controls were designed for a different threat. They're being bypassed right now by tools that cost less than your morning coffee. Takeaway 2. Layered vigilance wins. No single control defeats this threat. But temporal, spatial, device, network, and behavioral signals combined make synthetic identities visible. Invest across all 5 detection categories. Depth of defense multiplies detection probability. Takeaway 3. This is an arms race with no finish line. Quarterly testing, vendor collaboration, and continuous adaptation, separate organizations that survive from those that become headlines. Next week, I'm releasing a deep dive specifically on injection attack detection. Make sure you're subscribed. Your action items. This week. First, download the full WEF report. Link in description. Second, audit your verification pipeline against the 6-step attack chain. Third, schedule a presentation of these findings to your security committee this month. Don't wait for a breach to justify the conversation. One final thought. Behind every statistic I shared is a real person who deserves our empathy, not blame. A finance worker who thought he was helping his company. A loan officer who approved what looked legitimate. They weren't careless. They were deceived by technology evolving faster than defenses. Our industry's job is to protect people like them. Your role is to make sure your team and your customers don't become the next case study. If this breakdown gave you something actionable, hit like so the algorithm shows it to other fraud professionals who need this intelligence. Drop a comment telling me which control you're implementing first. I respond to as many as I can, and your questions often shape my next videos. Deepfakes are here. Your defenses must evolve. I'll see you next week for the injection attack deep dive. Until then, stay vigilant.